Page 62. Okay, where will we find the answer to number one?
You mean the book or in general?
In the book.
But I mean, number two, the suggestion is talks about the one-dimensional man. Let's see.
Caricatures of masculinity. How can this affect the view of man?
I mean, the book or the movie talked more about the kind of the caricatures that
Mhm.
come with masculinity in terms of, seeing men as this macho, people that just always aggressive in that sense. But they're talking about that men are more multidimensional, that different aspects of it that we need to equally look into and expand on, instead of just treating men as just, oh yeah, they're always the aggressive type, like, because that's not how God designed men to be, because men were both, just like the four faces they talk about, the king and the warrior.
Do you find that to be true with your experiences thus far? I mean, when you look at what they're saying, do you find that by nature men are more defensive and aggressive in behavior?
Yeah, I think the behavior is more skewed. That people are easily, more attracted to the warrior side versus like the friend type or the king type. We can see more people, like even the statistics in the beginning said like men are more likely to be involved in homicide or like horrible crimes
Right.
that involve,
Right.
aggression.
So what is that telling us about our nature, our natural nature as men?
The warrior, like you said,
Conquer and divide. The better part of us shows us being high strung.
Even with me, like the warrior and king face, I didn't know that's all I had until I got married. Once you get married, you have a female, you have to be more of a friend than a lover. Because that's your wife. You can't treat her like the guys because she's not one of the guys.
Right.
And for me, that I had to learn that because most of my life I had to be the older brother, the responsible one, the defender, all that stuff. So I'm always been the aggressive one, and like all the time. So once I met my wife, I had to learn how to be more gentler and stuff like that.
If your friends define you, what will be the two top things they will say about you in a group setting? What do you think your friends will say about you in a group setting if someone will ask a question like this?
Competitive.
Just tell me a little bit of what he's like. You have 30 seconds and somebody will describe you in 30 seconds. What do you think they will say about you, that your friends will say about you?
A friend in the weird. The weird face in the front face, mostly.
Okay.
Like even with Carla, competitive also, stuff like that.
Okay. All right. David,
More,
Ricardo?
more kind-hearted understanding, so more related to, I guess, the friend phase. You know, most people don't take me as an aggressive type anyway,
Okay.
so if the people that usually know me just tell me as a friendly type.
Because by your tone, you're not. You know what I'm saying? When you're being defined, I'm serious, you're being defined by your tone. There is a time, there is gonna come a time where, matter of fact, when we sat in the room, I think it was session 1, right here, and you said, I totally disagree with that. Now, you don't think that's you, but that's the tone side of David. You know what I'm saying? You don't see yourself that way, but that's what I heard. You totally disagreed with that. And you stood up and disagreed with that. It's in us, no matter how we view ourselves. God designed us to be that way. We just got to learn how to control it and channel it. Because there are times when we are going to use a warrior David type of looking at Goliath, say, I don't know why y'all standing around here. This guy is teasing all of us. Somebody need to do something about it, and I'm that person. There is going to come a time for that. Then there's a time where you got to tone it down because it's too much of you. You see what I'm saying? With your friends, that's fine. But in a different setting, you got to learn how to channel the warrior face, because you can be in a public debate in an atmosphere like this, in a university or an atmosphere at work. You got to learn how to control your tone and who you really are. I'm not saying that you got to dismiss who you are. I'm saying you have to control that. You have to learn how to be that over there, and we call it a inside voice and outside voice. You want to say the same thing, you want to get the same result, but you want to be able to say it in a way where people don't go like this, or people walk away saying it's just too much. Okay, all right. Carter.
They would probably say I'm between king and warrior face.
Okay,
And I'm split, I would say, right in between those two.
all right.
I think that's what they would say.
Because remember that word masculinity says what? What does masculinity say when you read it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. It tells you everything about, it defines you as a male. When a person says she's masculine, what are they saying about her? Yeah, she act like a man. So the word itself comes from the very nature that we are who we are. See, Jesus didn't beat Peter up for being Peter. He just was training Peter how to be a better Peter among people. He didn't take his talent away from him. He just taught him how to tone that down where ordinary people will respect what you say, love you for what you say. Because remember, Peter became an elder. So that only means one thing. He had a wife, he had children, and he had that masculine spiritual side about him that when 1 Peter and 2 Peter was written, you almost was in tears. And this very same guy said that Paul can be too much. Well, my Lord, who's Peter to say that? But he was a different Peter then. You see what I'm saying? So he learned through the Holy Spirit to be more like his Savior instead of being more like himself. And when men identify with that early, men can conquer and divide much quicker, because you want people to follow you in leadership because they trust you, not because they fear you. Not because they fear you, not because they know you're going to embarrass them or tease them or make fun of, what they look like. You want to be that kind of leader. Okay? All right. Do you identify morally with the king face or the warrior face? You already answered that. Why? Because it's who you are. It's who you are. It has everything to do with your upbringing, everything to do with the experiences that you've had. And when those things are unlocked in situations, you'll notice that there's something about you that you didn't even know were you. But when situations call on you to be something, it comes up and then it comes out. Okay, has your integrity ever been tested? That is something that all men should ask themselves. Have your integrity ever been tested? You know, you've been through some things where your integrity have been questioned, and you should have came out with a passing grade. If you didn't, you need to just be quiet, go back and get some orange cones and put it around you and put a sign up saying I'm under construction. Because you got some work to do. And make sure you have a chisel and a hammer so you can chisel away some things. Under stress, are you more likely to be a tyrant or a compromiser? And Lord knows men can be tyrants when they get upset under stress. You can flip it. You go crazy and your tone change. Your tone will change. But under stress, should you compromise? Men hate to compromise under stress. They want to be right. And that's a nature of that all men have that we really have to work on. And experiences itself get through it unless you just want to be viewed as a bully. You want people to back off you because you think you're bad, then keep being a jackass. And people think you bad. You know the difference between riding a horse and riding a donkey? Which one buckles and is stronger? A donkey is much stronger than a horse. Tame a donkey and try to tame a horse and see to tame. Get on his back and see what each one of them do by nature, but how long the other one would do. Because a donkey will knock you down and come at you. A horse will knock you down and run from you because you off his back. A donkey is mad because you got on his back. And he's going to come down and try to hoof you on the ground like a bull. A horse will run away from you because he's free. Donkeys don't do that. Okay? It is easy for you to take the initiative. Is it easy for you to take the initiative? Are you taking initiative in the right areas? Under stress, are you more likely to be a destroyer or a wimp? I don't know if that word wimp is a good word to be inserted in there, because there are times when you back down off of things simply because you don't want to say anything. And I don't think that's being wimpy. I just think that's being, just don't want to get involved. I just don't want to get involved. You know you can say something that will probably, you can interject and say something that will probably help. I don't think that's being wimpy. I know what wimpy mean, but I think sometimes when men get tired of talking, they get reserved. And when you become reserved in different situations, you're not being wimpy, you just don't want to be bothered. And you'll find yourself just sitting there letting other people talk. What do you think?
Yeah.
I always saw this as like the extreme. I think that's also the reason the whole disagreement when this chapter was taking place the first time was I always saw these things as the extreme of things. Like in the wimp, it literally says he gives up and is up or surrendered. So that's why he's called the wimp, not because like the way you're describing it is more like moderate, while this is the wimp is more to do with like the extreme side. Same with the compromiser. It's not a compromising in the sense that, of course, you have to compromise, but the word they use is he can struggle with making decisions. So that's why he chooses to compromise. So
Okay.
it's more in terms of like the thing with the musical instrument. It's like, this is too tough of a decision. Let's just move on. You know, that kind of thing, that kind of compromise. What he's saying is like in certain things, you're not to compromise. You are the king face. Show your king face. Don't go overboard and start kicking people out because they're doing musical instrument. Try to bring peace in the church, but that's for the king face. But don't do the extreme side of either things. Same thing with the destroyer. Don't go crazy and start bullying people or start like, being harsh to people. But don't be a wimp where you're not fighting for the thing that matters the most either. So that's why I didn't think the whip was that harsh, because it is the extreme side where he says he gives up easily and is quick to tap out or surrender.
So under stress in the temple, Jesus was what? A destroyer?
When he was
When he turned the tables over.
he was loud with it and did something people didn't expect.
Yeah, I wouldn't say destroy it. You know,
You never seen him like that.
I wouldn't call it a destroyer.
because he says he can be abusive or harsh to those around him. That's the word that they use. You know, I don't think he was being abusive. Because
But-
when you're doing wrong, like that's not abusive. Like when I think of destroyer, it's like when they do riots in simple protest, that's being destroyed because something is happening quietly and you do extreme of it. Like you're being abusive to people.
But you gotta look at it from the point of view of the people he's doing it to. You understand? Like if I'm in the temple when I'm doing you turn tables around, I'm gonna look at you like you know, you're abusing me emotionally and physically because you're destroying my stuff.
But you're already doing the wrong, man.
But like I said, you gotta look at it from their perspective, you know. So in their eyes, he is a destroyer because he's destroying their property, he's abusing them mentally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the people never seen that side of Jesus before he did that in that area. So that's like, who's this guy? You know what I mean? Like, and that's like you. Like I'm in your house and I'm eating your chips that you love. And you come home and really want those chips, and you just start flipping out. You know?
I do know that this is a semantic argument more than anything else, because I know that in reality, like it's a good mix of both. And Jesus, it is fighting for what matters.
Why did I know you was gonna say that?
Right, I don't consider it a destroyer either. I think it's more of, like we just said earlier, picking your battles. I think he decided, you know what, I'm gonna bring out this face this time. This is how I'm gonna react to it. Not that he couldn't be more of a compromise. And when I say compromise, in terms of, all right, guys, you guys need to stop this without flipping tables, without doing it. He could have been like, you guys need to get out of here, leave, pack up, and go now. And that's that, right? But he picked to bring out, I don't know whether you want to call it a king face or warrior face, and just show them like, you know what, not in my father's house. So I don't consider it a destroyer. Just I think that's what he picked, that type of battle to handle the situation.
Okay.
And I think that it's important that we figure out what to use or how to handle certain situations, what we want to bring out to
Okay.
handle particular situations.
Scripturally, to Kaman's point, how did the crowd view Jesus then?
A destroyer.
Yeah.
As a destroyer.
Yeah.
Now, on the spiritual student side, David and Kuman is right, simply because of the information that you have before you. If I walked into the temple, I was in the Gentile court or the female court, and I seen Jesus doing that, I would have seen a different side of Jesus. From that perspective of aggression, I would have looked at Jesus as an aggressor. Now, the abuse part that goes along with aggression, hitting someone, Jesus didn't do that. Throwing somebody down on the floor, Jesus didn't do that. But my viewpoint of Jesus would have been a destroyer. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People that are unlearned in scripture don't know what you already learned. Therefore, when you react to a certain thing or say a certain thing, they don't see the connotation of what you're trying to put together for their understanding. People don't view Jesus as someone that will yell. The average person out here don't have the biblical information that we have and don't have the scenes that we have where Jesus did have verbal confrontations, use words like brood of vipers, use words like whitewashed tombs. Those are not pleasant words in his day. And the people that he was directing it to was the higher up people in the religious sects. Those were the top people that Jesus was talking to. Now, therefore, a word battle was going on where you son of Beelzebub. Jesus hit back, brood of vipers, stuff like that. When you standing around that, you've seen a different Jesus. Okay, so when you start talking about wimpy, you start talking about king face, you start talking about warrior face, we're trying to learn how to be that kind of Jesus but not let our aggression make us abusive. Because we want to learn something from being a king face and a warrior face. Standing for what we believe is right must come across as truth, not as something that is tyrant and mandated. You know, if you don't believe what I believe, then, you know, fine. That's not going to get you anywhere. Okay? But if you stick it and base it on scripture, then that's a whole different ballgame. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, you have to always look at how people are going to look at you and view you. And that's why we're here. We're here to understand how to stand up for something, like Paul was telling Timothy, guard the truth. How can a person guard the truth? When you have to put that in a military sense. Paul is actually telling Timothy to pick up arms and don't let anything happen to this. So everything about you have to change. Don't go around wimpedly looking at scriptures as if it doesn't mean anything. Guard it, tuck it under you, stand by it, stand in it. You know, and the only way you do that, you have to stand up. That's why when Timothy went back to Corinth, he was a different kid. When he went back to select elders, he wasn't that wimpy kid that went first and got chewed up, and Paul had to send Titus. So again, you learning how to develop those skills that will help you become something that in reality to what men already are, helping you to develop those skills, that's going to be something that you can control. And Proverbs talks about being out of control is like a ship without rudder. You see what I'm saying?
And that's why I'm very intrigued by this, really, because all of the faces, they're all fine balances, right? And to perfect that, it's gonna take a lot. A lot of people who look at this and kind of learn about it, just they drop it right back down. I'm not gonna do this kind of thing, right? Because it's a fine balance. It's hard because depending on your status and what you're doing and your stature too, like everything about you, people can look at and just already depict who you are and what they think you are. Like you're a bigger male, so some people might take that as, you know what, he's gonna be aggressive,
he's intimidating
right off the bat.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason I'm bringing this up as you as a manager and as a boss is because you were talking about it outside, right? You fired 3 people, right? Someone who's looking outside, they're looking at you like, this guy is just getting rid of people. It doesn't matter. He's getting rid of people, right? But they're not seeing the actions that these particular individuals committed and that they made. So automatically, it doesn't matter what you did or the reason you're doing it.
Right.
It's the fact that you actually fired 3 people, and that's it. Oh, I better be on my P's and Q's now because he's gonna fire me too next. So it's a fine balance, and like I said, it's really intriguing. You just gotta kind of pick your battles, like know what face to bring out, know how to do it, and be cognizant of the fact that everyone else is watching you. People are watching you, seeing what you're gonna do, the decisions that you're going to make.
I had counseling by my wife who fired. Several people have come back to Donna and said, "Did you just fire me?" Because she did it in a manner where you didn't even know. She didn't use no emotion. She wasn't aggressive. She didn't bring up nothing in the past. She just said, you know, based on, you know, the information that we got from human resources and all the things that we have given you time off for and everything, it is time for us to part company. And she did it in a friend manner where they would peep back in the room and say, "Dolly, did you just fire me?" You know what I'm saying? So I get coached by that simply because my lungs are bigger. I'm 6'3". You know what I'm saying? I'm 260 pounds. There's a lot of me. So when I sit down with usually when I'm doing safety meetings and stuff with my employees, I always sit down. I never sit at the head of the table. If I sit in a safety meeting where you're sitting, I sit on a table. I never sit at the table where I'm the head chair, because they train you and teach you that in management and stuff like that, when you're a different size, you project. and what you say and how you say it put people on the defensive. You know what I'm saying? And then I let everybody argue around the table before I have an input. And when I do have an input, like I had one guy that did that, he just went off, and then everybody in the room jumped on him. So he came to me afterwards, and immediately came to me afterwards with several people still in the room and apologized. I said, but you and I had this private conversation. Why did you bring it up publicly? You see, it's because other men seen him, knew what he was doing, understood what he was saying, and they jumped on. You know, so it's important how you carry that part of you that you have, and it's going to come out, but you just got to be able to manage it in a way where it's Christ-like. There was two different perspectives in that temple, and both of those perspectives walked away knowing Christ wasn't playing. Christ wasn't playing. There was two perspectives on the woman that was caught in adultery, because both groups, including the lady, walked away knowing that Christ wasn't playing. So there was just different biblical scenarios of how to be a man, how to handle things. And I'm serious, man. I'm telling you, it will do you good to pray about these things and know that you want to change. You want that nature of who you are to change. You want to be a person who will be respected and a person who people will care and have a good opinion about you. You know what I'm saying? So when you do say something, it'll make sense. Instead of saying something that, you know, it's going to be something that people don't want to be bothered with. That's not who you are. That's not who you want to be. And if you want to be in any kind of leadership at all, everything about you have to change. You know, you have to stand up. You have to be firm. You have to, sometimes what you mandate, you may say, "Dog, I should have thought that over a little bit more," but you got to let it ride now because it's out on the table now. So you got to let it, you know, go, and it'll fix itself. So understand that and understand what they're saying here. Okay, so all right, let's move on.
Usually less than 5 now, right?
In the friend phase, so I'm gonna do my best.
Well, the group started almost 17 or 18 years ago with a few of us getting together and talking about what it would be like if we committed to 20 years together.
We're getting of the age where things were starting to fall apart in people's lives, and maybe the way to pull things together would have more men around you and men praying for you, holding you up, knowing what's really going on.
I got a phone call that said, we got 10 guys we want to put together for 20 years. And at that time in my life, my spiritual life was really, really strong, really good. Knew who I was, knew where I was going.
I was a seeker at that time in the religious vernacular that I wanted something. I needed men. I knew it. And I was struggling with secrets in my life at that time.
It's real talk in this group, real problems. There's not that religious spirit of everyone here has all the right answers and everyone has this expectation that you got to meet a certain standard. And if you don't meet that standard, there's a certain amount of judgment or criticism. No, it's like, let's just be real.
I hate the question, what's God doing in your life, or what are you doing? And you don't want to go down there and say, well, I castrated 6 bulls last week. Does that count for anything?
Early on, I think that the real purpose was met in that we've been through a whole lot. You would imagine with 7 to 8 guys going through life together, we've had, personally, we've lost a child. The great thing about that day was within, he died in his sleep, and I was already at the office, and Nancy called. Within 5 to 8 minutes, there were 3 of the guys in this group were at the house.
And this group is here for you in your high moments and your low moments. And when people are there for you, when you have wins and when you have losses, that builds a loyalty unlike anything else.
I'm in recovery from addiction. I had a very successful asset management company, managed a lot of money, very successful in the world since. And I finally, I hit my bottom, and with my wife in tears, the first person I called was Nick, and got that secret out.
As a man, I wanted to grow up, and at the end of my life, my tombstone epitaph say he was a great father, he was a great boss, he was a great Christian, he was a great husband. And I blew it in every category.
And I pled guilty to a federal charge. I am not proud of it, but I made a mistake. I signed some documents I shouldn't have signed, and actually spent time in a federal prison.
And everything I didn't want to be as a man, I was. And so I kept coming to the group. They asked me, do you want to come? And I thought my whole life was about to dissolve.
Going through enough stuff, for lack of a better term, together knocks off or chips off the inauthentic parts. And so you end up with an authentic relationship that ultimately builds you up, edifies.
I had failed so much, I didn't believe in myself anymore. And so to have the freedom to fail made me want to succeed.
I've had my butt kicked by these guys publicly in a group setting. On the other hand, when I've been at the lowest, come around and pick me up.
You really have these kind of relationships and this kind of structure for the benefit of the crises of life. And therefore, sometimes you may feel like you're going through the motions, but in reality, you're setting the stage for relationships for the benefit of how to deal with the crises of life when they happen.
We've all made mistakes, we've struggled, but we've all been here together. And that band of brothers kind of concept has been with us since the get-go.
The camaraderie, the goofing off, the abusing each other, the sarcasm that I needed, but I wouldn't get it on my own. They reached out to me and sort of brought it out of me. And
the sign of affection and love is that, we just rib you, and they're constantly aggravating one another and just joking with one another and, all kind of things like that. So humor is a constant.
It's fun, because if it stops being fun and it becomes a duty, I have enough duty in my life.
The greatest thing for me I've seen is I'm surrounded now by a bunch of guys who are extremely mature in their faith, have been through hell and back, and are walking better because of it, are standing straight, their families are intact.
For me, this group was, quote, the power greater than myself that we use in the 12-step program, because at that point, that's how God used them through the body of Christ to really love me until I could start loving myself.
And these guys help me just keep walking. And I love them all in different ways, and they all have different strengths. And we're all quirky, weird guys. And there isn't a whole lot of spiritual, religious stuff about us. It's just guys trying to make the journey.
That the payoff is worth the risk. You know, it's tough going it alone, and I think that's probably most men's experience. And that it won't feel easy at first, and it won't be 3 sessions and suddenly you click and you get it, but it's worth the risk. And that over time, having other men around you and being able to go to them and ask for counsel, or and flip around and say, in other cases, to come alongside them and help them through tough times, is worth the risk.
Ma'am, Ron.
I said it's worth the risk. You notice that every one of them in that tenure had a story.
Yeah.
Everybody went through something. You know what I'm saying? So it's a proven fact that they benefit from one another. And that's the key. You're going to benefit from one another. And there are times, y'all, you know, when you look at scripture, you know, I did a study one time on Jesus just moving about. And there were times when Jesus just saved people's life. People were at rock bottom. And he came along and he brought them up from the pits of hell and just got them on eye level, man. Sometimes that's all God is calling you to do on a daily basis. Sometimes it's just stop somebody from committing suicide, stop somebody from going home and shooting somebody, stop somebody from just going somewhere and jumping off a bridge. You know, your life and how you view God can be the turning point for someone who is mad at God, you know, and God is using you as a vessel. And just kind of like know that. I mean, that was one of the most powerful sessions, I think, in the series, where a group of men can get down and talk and say how each one of them was a saving grace. And that was powerful, because that's some things that men just don't do. You don't have many sessions like that where men are just willing, you know, to just hang out and help one another. Okay, first question.
So for me, I think I identify more with the front face.
Okay.
Because for me, it's easy to, you know, be friendly with people and stuff like that. You know, then all you gotta do is say hi and start a conversation and go from there.
All right, so you need to grow as a lover.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, as a mirror, like I keep saying, as a mirror, you may have to learn how to be more of a tender, you know what I mean? Because I'm so used to being by myself and doing things my way, and
Yep.
you know, don't have to answer to nobody.
Okay.
And stuff like that. So yeah, I feel we grow as more as levels. But I'm still I'm strong as a friend right now.
Friend base for me too. The key thing about the lover face. I mean, I'm also a lover. Have characteristics of the lover face as well, but the one thing that it says here is that a willingness to be emotionally vulnerable. I don't allow myself to be vulnerable.
That ain't me.
That's not me, man. That's not me. And that's something. Before I could be vulnerable with someone, man, it takes a lot. So that's why I definitely relate more with the friend face, because I could be friendly. I'm very friendly. I'm absolutely friendly. It's easy to be friendly.
But like me,
Like
like
you're
you
telling me
said,
to put my guard down and
Yeah.
just be vulnerable with someone who could actually do some damaging things to me, to my heart, or to who I am as a person. Nah,
yeah,
that ain't that happen.
especially when it already happened already. Because I told my wife, I said I have girlfriends that I have like one girlfriend that she, you know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like for me, like even with her, like with her, like when she's sick, she cry, you know how females, oh I'm sick, and I'm like, "Look, drink some tea," you know what I mean? Like yeah, it's not that bad, you know what I mean? I dealt with pain before, you know, but she sit there, and, you know, I always have to sit back and apologize because I have to forget, you know, I handle pain differently than she, you know, so I have to be more sensitive to her. You know what I mean? Have to be more sensitive, more vulnerable, be like, it's okay, you know, I have to, it's all right, you know, do you want me to do anything for you? Instead of being like, you're all right. You know what I mean?
So you had your heart broken.
Back in the day, mom.
It's all right.
You know what I mean?
It's all right.
No, but you know, like I said, like I told my wife, I said every experience, like when it comes to females and stuff like that, was an experience for me to be in the right state of mind when I met you. I say some experiences turned me to be a worse man, and some of them helped me be a better, you know.
Mhm.
As I thought, I said, because I learned from their experience. Like, I knew what kind of girl to look for. Like I had some girls I would have talked to. You know, we talked and find out they was only in there for like money or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I need help. Can you give me that? You know what I mean? Like then I know, okay, check that off my list. I don't want that. Or you have, and you know the signs of like someone that would, you know, like if they're sneaking around and stuff like that. And I said that helped me because like. You know what I mean? I already know like if I feel that something ain't going right with my gut, then obviously I have to check it out or, you know, be with somebody else.
You guys amaze me how easy it is for you to talk about yourself. I don't know if you noticed that. What you're doing in this series is very hard for men to do. So you guys this is these 6 sessions here, I can tell has made an impact on y'all life. And y'all kind of like, man, y'all like at third base, like, you know what I'm saying? You guys don't mind showing the vulnerable side of you and explaining and saying some things. I mean, you're not laying everything out on the table, you know, but I can tell that you are comfortable within these 4 walls with this material, and that's amazing. I really commend the 3 of you for that. I think you're going to be powerhouses in helping others to see that because you're able to show that in your life. I mean, there's nothing wrong with your past when you explain it, as long as people can see it's not your future. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everything about a man's mistakes and his background builds him up to be the person that he journeys through life in. And you'd be able to help a lot of people that way. And you'd be better in relationships. You really will. When you fall and get up and, you know, admit that you were part of some of those problems, you're going to be better in relationships. You really are. So I truly commend y'all for that. And, you know, I'm thankful that, you know, the material is working. I have grown men that wouldn't have lasted this long. They would have left out of anger because they refuse to sit down and identify with their weaknesses. And, you know, later on, I get a telephone call or something, or they try to one-on-one me, that kind of thing, but they just not ready to sit down in a room or you're in a backyard and because the pain is too deep and is so unresolved. They just didn't. We are different species, man. Yeah, out of everything that God created, you know, man is something else. So just know you in fine company. All right, question number 2.
When you're emotionally engaged at home, how could you encourage your wife or your kids this week? Like I said, I'm working on being more emotionally. Like, I mean, obviously she knows I love her, but like I have to work on like being more sympathetic to like her feelings in certain times and stuff like that, not just like you be all right, you know what I mean? Like I can't treat her like I would treat Ricardo if Ricardo stumped his knee or something like that,
I want to be treated the same, actually.
Yeah, you can't treat him like that either, because he has emotions. We have emotions too. Although we sound tough, we sound like we got it together. Again, it's going to come a time in our life where Ricardo is not going to be all right. You know what I'm saying? And you won't be able to say to him, "Yo, man, it's going to be all right," because he's going to say to you, "No, it's not."
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like your emotions going to take over, and the very thing that he thought he had control over and he was able to conquer is going to be the very thing that's going to bring him down to his knees. And you will be able to, or David be able to, or whoever else is in the circle will be able to say, "Okay, man," like, because they joke a lot because it's painful. And there are times when they got serious, say, "Okay, man, let's sit down, let's talk about it." You know what I'm saying? So knowing that there's a difference between, because you guys need to answer this because you're not married. Like, are y'all emotionally engaged at home? You know what I'm saying? I mean, with your parents, with your siblings, are y'all in tune with one another, or do you struggle talking?
Yeah, for the longest time, there used to be a state in, like, at least for me, I can say personally, where I used to be very distant in the home,
Mhm.
because it would always be like everybody's engaged in their own thing, and you kind of were just going through the motions of it. After a while, I just came to realize that it is very important that everybody in the family needs to connect and know what each one is doing on a mental, spiritual level, at least just to know that this is a place of sanctuary, because whatever happens outside of the home, when you come in these four walls, like you are the only person to each other. And that kind of was a big play in that, because he emphasized the importance of having like family meetings where we could just sit down and talk, just like in this kind of setting. Because I think it's very easy if you just started putting walls up, that you just think that's the normal state that people should be, but that's not. Because people, you have to lay your walls down, so it's just unhealthy to just always have everything up. But after a while, if you keep on doing it, you get into this mental state of depression, you get a mental state of horrible things in your thoughts, all in your own head, when you should be letting them out. And when you don't have that structure in the home, it's a big part of it. So I feel for the longest time, it was not the same, where there was not emotional engagement, but surely and surely, especially with changes coming into the home with different, jobs and all that, it has been much of a growth experience to be able to engage in that.
Good.
Yeah, that's good because like,
Good.
because for me, I was the total opposite. Like I was the one that when I went home, I went to my room, I eat, do what I had to do, wash dishes, but I went to my room and you won't see me for the rest of the week. My parents barely saw me. They're like, "Oh, you home?" 'Cause I didn't engage them or anything like that, and like that I kept to myself. So that's why I think because of me doing that made me more of a defensive person, because I felt as if I have to do for myself. I have to, take care of myself. Like when somebody's attacking me, I have to defend myself, and I don't have nobody to back me up because I never felt like I had that. Like he said, have that meeting once a week or whatever. Everybody communicate what's going on, how you doing stuff. We didn't do that.
See, you're going to have trouble encouraging people.
Yes, it does.
You know what I'm saying? I'm serious. I mean, you're just going to have trouble encouraging people because it's not who it by nature. It's not. This is you. You go that way. You know what I'm saying? Because it's better for you. You're good talking on the other side of the wall. You know what I'm saying? Because it's good for you. Therefore, you're not going to be a good encourager. You're going to have to learn how to do that. You know what I'm saying? Paul learned from Barnabas what encouragement meant when he lost John Mark. See, because afterwards, Paul called for Mark. He understood the benefit of toning it down and encouraging people more than shouting at them about the gospel all the time. Peter took Mark, and we got a book because of it. You know what I'm saying? Paul asked for Mark because he wanted his affection. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to learn how to be an encourager. Being an encourager is gonna make you dig deep inside and bring it out. You know what I'm saying? But right now, that's where you struggle. You know, you struggle encouraging people because it's your nature, it's who you are. I'm serious, guys. You're gonna look at yourself the way you're doing now, and you're gonna see all these different parts about yourself, and you're gonna say, wow, man, Ellis is right, man. He's the smartest dude in the world, or you know what I'm saying? He just got this information from somewhere that's right. But that's the way men are wired. We wired that way. And whether we know it or not, and if we're blessed in a situation like this where things like this help us and we can get some guidance from someone who's facilitating it, it's only going to make you better at you, because that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to make you better at you, because, man, when you become better, everybody around you is going to benefit.
And it is good when we keep like the whole conversation and things like that in the back of our mind and just apply it to our lives every day. Like for example, me in my home, right? Not our parents, my siblings, not any of us would ever doubt that we love each other, but we never, and I say ever, say I love you to each other.
Yeah.
It's just something we just don't do,
I ain't
right? We have the best of relationships.
Right.
The second I call my sister or my brother, they're right there, ready to go. But we don't express it. We don't verbally. We never ever say I love you to each other. So I took it upon myself to me and my sister, because we're the youngest and we're the more accustomed to the Western world a little bit, I guess. So we're saying more I love you to each other. But even when we're doing that, we're saying it more through text messages and not verbal.
Right.
So it's interesting, and I'm trying to tell them now and kind of helping them out, because they're having children now too.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to instill in them, like, you need to tell them that you love them. Yeah, we have that affection around us where we knew each other. We were back home. Like, we were home every day. We were around each other every day.
Right.
So we didn't really need to say it to each other
Mm-hmm.
to know, because we were around each other every day. We were doing things for each other every day. Now in the US, I see it, bye, later. Like, you need to verbally tell them that. They need to know that. And one thing that I did today, and since we're on the topic, with Crystal, like we have one of our friends who's going to be doing the photography and stuff like that, and he's giving us a pretty good discount, and he's just starting out too, so he's using it both as a portfolio and just kind of helping us out. So about a few days ago, Chris is like, Ricardo, I need these pictures to be really good. Like the memories need to be really good. I'm like, I get it. He is good. And so what we did is,
I don't want any discount photo.
Yeah, right. I'm like, we'll be fine. It'll be good. And especially, And so especially we got the pictures from Ashley's wedding. The one she walked in, the pictures came out perfect. Like, pictures were awesome.
Oh, that's the same person?
No, different person. So now she sending me those pictures.
$250 discount could be the world of difference.
So she's sending me these pictures. Like, oh my God, these pictures are on point. They're perfect. Is he gonna be as good? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I hope so, kind of thing. But the other day she had to return because he let us borrow the base, so she had to return the base. And that's my friend. She's cool with him, but that's not her friend. So I told her. Hey, so I said, hey, but
it's her wedding.
Right. So I told Chrissy, hey, when you return the base to him today, plow into him. Like let him know, because I had the friendship with him. Yeah. So I'm not, even when I say certain things, he's probably not gonna take it as seriously. But if you go and tell him, hey man, like, listen, I understand that this is Ricardo's your friend, but I need these pictures to be on point. Like if you tell him and you plow into him, he'll have to take it seriously. So when she told him, and he was like, yeah, these pictures, they're gonna be good, but like I'm just starting out. I can have the guy who taught me how to do it. I can have him do it instead. So, and he told her it would have to be another $250 to do that. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to pay another $250. Like, he'll be fine. So instead of me kind of, I know it's important to her. So instead of me bombarding her and telling her, no, like, let's not, it'll be fine. I told her, you know what, Chrissy? You make the decision. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. I'll back you up. I knew she was going to say yes. And I know I don't want to do it. I don't want to pay another $250.
Right.
Because he'll be fine. Like, he's done a few weddings already. He'll be fine. But I know she wants the absolute best.
Yeah, precious.
And so,
memories.
right. So I'm like, you know what, Chrissy? You make the decision, and whatever you decide, I'll be happy with it. And she was excited. And little things like that.
That's a love effect.
It's a love effect, right?
It's a love effect.
Little stuff like that, when you do it, she was ecstatic. She was like, oh yeah. The second I told her, she's like, yep, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. It's no thought, but like that makes her feel really good about herself.
I learned that too. Like, you know, I'm thinking our wedding, I learned how to display, babe, whatever you want to do. And she used to get mad. She was like, you have no pay. I said, babe, whatever you want to do. I said, I'm happy if you're happy. You know what I mean? That even with the house, I'm happy. You want to cook that cup? Okay, I'm happy if you're happy. Except for they ain't talking about the picture, but you know.
Yeah, right. I hear you. Now, they had mentioned on the film that we didn't get together as a sense of duty. But you talked about you guys never exchanged the word love.
No.
But there is no doubt in each family member how much y'all love one another.
Right.
But when the word love is absent, it is a sense of duty. It is. I am really, really bound by this relationship in this family, and that's not ever going to change. But I do have a hard time saying that. You know what I'm saying? So that's part of your DNA. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to learn, I got to be better at this. So, you know, Chrissy, okay, it don't mean as much to you. It's fine. But precious memories go a lot further with women than they do with men.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if it's about $1, suck it up. Okay, let's get the best that we can get, because she's gonna make a big deal about the pictures. Every time she show them to somebody, you're gonna get sick of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
As soon as brother said, he go, oh yeah, he like that.
Right.
I said, we could have done.
It says, all right, let's finish up. We got 2 minutes. It said, discuss your capacity to connect with other men as good friends. Are you devoting the time needed to build soul level friendships? Are you being others centered? I think y'all getting there.
Yeah, I said I'm working on it.
Yeah, I think y'all getting
on
there.
that.
I think for the first time, this is something that's on this level. This is something brand new to you, and I think you heading in that direction. You got an upward momentum to it, and I think that's a good. You're not reluctant, so that's a good thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like with me, I'm always like, my wife used to always yell at me because I go to the movies by myself. Like, you know,
she used to yell at me too to go with you.
Why you always do like you need to call somebody? I said, why? You know, because I'm not used to always having my friends all over like that. So it's like, you know, for most of my life, I was by myself doing stuff. So it's like, you know, whatever. Like even with the whole thing what Carlos says, I didn't tell my father I love. Me and him had that first conversation like that about what 23 years old. Yeah. Before I was like, no doubt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got
even when you're saying it's like I love you.
Yeah, like, you know,
it's not even I love you. It's uncomfortable to just kind of blur. It's crazy. And it's the easiest thing to do. Like you know you love the person.
Easiest thing to do.
It is,
right. You know you love the person, but why is it so hard for you to express it?
It's hard.
Because
like it's crazy.
So when it comes to my mother, I can say I love you. Like I called her the other day. You know, I just want to let you know I love you.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't think I did, or something was bothering you, I just want to let you know I love you. That's it. No, I don't know. Maybe it's like I said, me. I think my father was brought up in South Carolina, so his dad was a little more country and farm and all that stuff. So he's not that type of.
And men just don't communicate that. Like they don't communicate like that, you know. And it's something that we have to change generation.
Right.
We have to get out of that that era of not communicating and not showing our emotions and saying what we truly feel.